2024 was arguably the worst year of my entire life personally, but we still had some wins. I actually looked through my profit and loss in 2023 to 2024, and it wasn't that bad. So I want to make this video to showcase, some lessons I learned and some wins in 2024 up until this year, in March. So I just want to make this to be transparent. I know there's like a lot of embarrassing moments when you start a business or just start anything in general. And I just want people to know it's okay. And you should be okay with failing, because how else are you going to learn, if you don't fail? You can't always win. That's not realistic. So I'm pulling up a percent change calculator because I'm going to showcase the difference between 2023 and 2024 in percentage. I just think that's a more realistic, year-over-year change. Monetary value doesn't make sense if you look at things holistically, and when you do reporting, you gotta present it in percentage differences. So some important factors to keep in mind, in 2024, I was only really active for about 6 months max. And that was because my father was sick and then he ultimately died. So I was just MIA for about 4 months in the summer. And I was also working through trademark issues, which is now resolved. We are good. If you remember, I was Primetime Collections, but now we are Torbit Flock. So that is all sorted and we are good on that. So I was really comfortable making new items until that was, sorted out, because we did a new logo for the items. And also making content with old items is kind of awkward. I mean, I still do it, but it's just, I don't know, it feels yucky. It's like a bad ex. So looking at income. So we improved it by 43%. And that number shocked me because 2023, I was more active. And in 2024, I got most of my income later in the year because we did go viral on TikTok on Small Business Saturday. And on that weekend, we got about like over 100 orders in a span of 4 days. That was crazy. That was fun. There's a video on that. I'll link it in the corner eye, whatever it's called. And a big difference as well is that I did utilize email marketing a little bit more. I do want to use it more. I think it's just slept on, and I have to stop looking at it as a consumer. I mean, I do, but I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So as a consumer, I like to open emails that I appreciate or for businesses I like. And as a business owner, I didn't really use email because I thought like, okay, well, it's going to be considered spam. People are going to be annoyed by it. They get like 50 emails a week or whatever. Why open mine, right? But you have to remember, there's people who support what you do, and any kind of content they see from you, they'll love it. So I dabbled in email marketing a little bit more at the end of the year, and that was my second best sales driver. So I really need to just, work on that in 2025. Maybe do like 1 email a month, maybe 2 emails. I gotta figure out a nice balance to not, annoy people, but also get the message across. Earlier this year, I tested both BuildYourStore.ai and also AutoDS, and they're 2 platforms that work perfectly together to get you started in the e-commerce world. With BuildYourStore.ai, you can create a fully optimized Shopify store in just minutes for free. All you have to do is choose your niche, and its AI will build a ready-to-sell store for you with no coding required and no stress to you. Also, a major plus is that there is a Shopify theme that's worth over $200 that's included for free with BuildYourStore.ai. And when you add AutoDS to the mix, managing your store is hands-free and a breeze because it helps with order fulfillment and product sourcing. So all you gotta do is just sit there and be human, which is the easiest job out there. If you're in a market that has constantly changing items and products, then its Ads by Tool and trending products is gonna be your best friend. So want to give this duo a try? Look below in the description and a pinned comment so you can try BuildYourStore.ai for free, and also AutoDS for $1 for 30 days instead of the typical 14-day trial. So next we'll talk about cost of goods sold, and basically this is what it says, basically the cost required to make what you sell or provide. So this includes, samples, materials, stuff like that. And the percent difference was 49%. So the main difference that happened is I hired a team that had their own process. And I am someone who prefers to be a bit hands off because I want them to do what they want to do and I trust them. I do oversee what they do, but I just trust their expertise, and that really paid off. So in 2023, the cost of goods sold was in the 5 digits, but in 2024, it was in the 4 digits, and that's a big difference. Okay, so I'm gonna dabble in specific expenses starting now. So we're gonna start off with advertising and marketing, and this includes paid ads, paid Google ads, social ads, influencers, that sort. There was only a difference of, I want to say, $1,000, 2023 going to 2024. And I do want to utilize this a bit more because I did dabble in paid Meta ads, and Meta is Facebook and Instagram, a little bit more this year, and it really, really worked. You just have to figure out the ad type by platform, because something that works in Facebook does not work in Instagram. What works in Instagram does not work on TikTok. So you have to figure out what people like, and this tip applies to also organic social media. All right, so this one is kind of embarrassing, but we have to say it. This is bank fees. So I utilized credit cards to fund this business originally. And because of that, there's certain ones that were maxed out. And because they're maxed out, interest was charged. So in 2023 was a good year because the interest in most cards did not start until 2024. So, oh my God, I am like nervous to say this percent change. But we gotta. So I spent 217% more in interest charges in 2024 versus 2023. But hold on one second. So I am close to paying off one card, and this card was like super maxed out. It was like 20K, but at the time of filming now, I think it's at like 6K, which is a big difference. You gotta give me that. And this card has like the highest interest rate. So once this card is gone, it's gonna be a breath of fresh air. I can't wait. I think I will, I wanna pay this off by, today's like March, maybe June. I originally had a goal to pay this off by February/March, but my father passed away and funeral expenses is expensive. I am talking 5 figures. So I had to prioritize paying that off because that was on my personal card. And I am a stickler to having a good credit score. So I'm trying to pay that off first, but also pay this off. It's tricky, but that's life. Okay, so random expenses. So, okay, so you have to spend money to get money. I saw a TikTok earlier that said, my money makes me money. And I think that applies too. And I mentioned that because one of my expenses that I have to keep is software and apps and office expenses. So office expenses does include utilities. That includes, electricity, internet, phone. If you rent out an external mailbox, which I do, which you should do because it provides privacy, and storage units, what have you. You can apply this to that. Please write that in your tax return. If your attorney, if your accountant does not bring that up, you got to bring that up because you are leaving money on the table. So personally, I expense a portion of my electricity bill, my one room in my apartment, internet, phone, the external mailbox, and I do have a storage unit. It's mostly business, but like I put like a book in there or whatever that's personal, but it's mostly business. I do put that on my taxes as expensive because it is an expense. And I guess an additional lesson I do want to bring up is that You should really study on what you can expense, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people underestimate what you can, expense. Like, for example, I know a few people who are in the spicy accountant industry, and they're able to, expense hair, nails, wax, clothing, travel. You can expense traveling if a percentage of that trip is related to business. I think it's 25%. Do not quote me on that. I'm not an accountant. I think it was 25%. This one was the biggest difference. This is giving me PTSD. Wow. Okay. Let me see how much this was. And this one is an unfortunate part of doing business. So we're going to talk about professional fees. And professional fees, include, contractors, employees, accountants, what have you. Basically, if you hire someone, that's included. So the percentage change was 51%, but I'll just include the exact number. In 2023, this was 17,000. In 2024, it was 8,200. So I'm going to say this lightly because, I do respect, the folks that was in my journey in 2023, but I did have to let them go in 2024. Basically, our vision was not the same. I'm a small business. I think small, and I appreciate them thinking big. But the problem is that I can't apply the same tactics that Zara, Lululemon, JCPenney use, right? I have to start from ground zero. When they post, they're at like ground 152. We are different. And this was a common talking point that I brought up, and they just weren't, digesting it. They weren't just applying it. One of the biggest things that I was not a fan of is that they were really pushing to launch new items. And I knew the economy was rough, even back in 2023, even before that. And I was cautious. I like to be cautious. I do like to take risks, but you have to be cautious, especially, you have to know what people are willing and able to spend. What you think they're willing to spend may be incorrect, and that's okay. You got to learn your audience. My audience, it's split. And I think any business will have this. There's a group of people in your customer base that will spend money on anything you drop, and I have those people, and I know those people. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And there's also a group of people that, dabble in a launch here and there. And then there's another group of people who just wait on like a sale or something specific to drop before buying something. And I think, their thought process is that they assume that every one of my customer base was people who were willing to buy anything in a drop. And that is incorrect. I like to think of the customers as people who are cautious. I'm cautious, especially in this economic crisis, and they are too. And that's something that was not applied in their thinking, and it was just frustrating. So we had to part ways. I do wish them the best of luck, but right now, I just don't think we're aligned with what to do now and what to do in 2 weeks and what to do in a year. I just think certain people think, you can blow up on social media and make 100K in a month, even when you launched like a year ago. And that's unrealistic. And I do want to say, if you start slow, and that's okay. I started slow. It's okay if you're not making, a ton of money. That's fine. I think that's healthy, because when I see a lot of people who, went from 0 to like 150K a month, they don't really know how to use the money or apply it efficiently. And by going slow, you can know, where your money's going, how to really apply it. I guess think of it as like, what's that term where you make a lot of money suddenly? Lifestyle inflation. So think of it as like that, but with earnings. Yeah, that's essentially it. So, my thoughts on the year over year change. I am happy, very happy. Like I said, 2024 was arguably the worst year I've ever experienced. And I think me blowing up on social media at the end of 2024 was a blessing in disguise. I think I just used all my karma on that. And I guess we can talk about social media right now. So I think people are sleeping on social media, especially organic. I work in paid media, so I do, paid Google ads, paid social ads, paid YouTube ads, whatever. And when I do freelance, people commonly assume that the people you get through ads will convert, and that is not the case. With paid social ads, they come to your page, they follow it, but it's up to your organic post to keep them and convert them. Yes, when they see an ad, they could convert on the spot. I've seen it. It happens to me. But really, you have to figure out your brand voice to convert them over and over and over again. So what I tell these clients and what I want to tell you too is to really figure out your brand voice and your brand flow, because that's really what's going to keep people in your sphere for a long, long time. As I said, in 2024, it was a really, hiatus year for like 6 months. But even then, because of how I utilize social media, I kept certain, a customer base, and they still converted at the end of the year and also earlier this year when I did a big Black History Month sale. So just think about that. You don't have to know your brand flow immediately. Just dabble on different things, dabble in different content types like lifestyle, skits, behind the scenes. Really just research what other brands do, try it out, see if it works for you, and see if you actually like it, because you have to like doing it in order to pump it out. That's really important, because when it's obvious you're not a fan of it, people know, trust me, people know. So that's really it. I really hope this made sense and was really helpful to you. If there's any questions, please leave it below and I'll get back to you in the comments. But I do want to say thanks for sticking through. Have a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you're at, and take care. Bye.